Everybody, it is Monday, and you know what time is it? It is book club time. As on Mondays, all roads lead to book club. So you know what to do. As you're logging on, let us know what city, what state, and or what country you might be logging in from. And if it's your first time, let us know that you're a newbie so that we can celebrate you. We absolutely are excited about being a part of your journey as we are taking a deeper dive into the mountain is you. So for those of you who don't know, I am Nina Moore. And maybe you were invited to look at this. Maybe you're watching this replay. If you're watching live, make sure you hit a 1 to let us know that you're live. Hit a 2 to let us know that you came back to actually watch the replay. Now, a lot of people don't understand why I am so passionate about book club. Well, the one thing that I know is that you are never, ever going to earn more than you learn. And when I began to invest my time in personal development and reading things outside of just the Bible, right? I began to grow not only as an individual, but as a businesswoman, and my money began to grow, right? So you're never going to earn more than you learn. But I also know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So here I am today to pour into your cup. Let me fill your cup today. And then the third thing that I know about reading and personal development and growth and why it's so vitally important, it is critically important to our lives, is because leaders are readers. And if you want to lead in any capacity, then leaders are readers. And it is not just who we are, what family we were born into, what school we went to, but as you continue your personal development and growth each and every single day of your lives. And so you know what to do. Y'all know what the hashtags are, right? What hashtags do we need you to type in the chat? We need you to type in the hashtags. What is it? Book talk. We need you to hashtag good reads, GOODREADS. We need you to hashtag book tube. And we want to make sure that if you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, right? But I'm going to stay with me to the end because I'm going to bless you. I have a free gift for you all, especially if this is your first time. I've got a free gift for you. Stay tuned. Now, this particular book that we're reading right now, it is a jab, jab, uppercut, 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 a dual kick, literally kicking our butt. We are in chapter 2 of The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss. This is literally the ultimate seeker's guide for those brave enough to face their true north and take their power back. So if you are back with us today, that means you didn't chicken out and you are ready to take your power back. Now, I know that this one is a little tough. It's been tough, but guess what? What I know about change is not always easy, but it is necessary, right? It is necessary. Change is not always easy, but it is necessary. And I want to thank you all that are live on TikTok for all of the love that you're showing me on screen right now. Make sure that you also on TikTok are hashtagging book talk, good reads, and book tube. All right. And then of course your normal stuff, book club and, Insta read and stuff like that. And, all right. So let us dive in. We're in chapter 2 of The Mountain Is You. And we're getting ready to start, the sub chapter perfectionism. So this, chapter 2 is titled, let me go back. There's no such thing as self-sabotage. And one of the subtitles in this chapter is perfectionism. When we expect that our work must be perfect the first time we do it, we end up getting into a cycle of perfectionism. Perfectionism isn't actually wanting everything to be right. It's not a good thing. In fact, it's a hindering thing because it sets up unrealistic expectations about what we are capable of or what the outcomes of our lives could be. Perfectionism holds us back from showing up and trying or really doing the important work of our lives. This happens because when we are afraid of failing or feeling vulnerable or not being as good as we want others to think that we are, we end up avoiding the work that is required to actually become that good. We sabotage ourselves because it is the willingness to show up and simply do it again and again and again that ultimately brings us to a place of mastery. So what is it that brings us to a place of mastery? Well, Chalanda, oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your first time. Welcome as a newbie. This says what brings us to the place of mastery is simply the willingness to show up and simply do it again and again and again. So I don't know if you all caught that like I caught it, Paul. It said the willingness to show up, not just showing up, but what's important about that is what attitude do you have when you show up? So this says the willingness to show up and simply do it. And in this book, the words do it are italicized. And simply do it again and again and again. That is what ultimately brings us to a place of mastery. So how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this thing? We don't worry about doing it. You just do it. You don't worry about doing it well. You just do it. You know, I was challenged the other day to contact and connect with 500 people on Saturday, knowing that we had plans to take our daughter to the farm. Last minute plans, but we made the plans before I got the call. And I'm going to tell y'all, I was like, 500 connections, 500 contacts. It was already 12 o'clock. It was past 12 o'clock when I got the phone call. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, how in the world could I humanly possible connect with 500 people today before I go to bed? And here's what I want you to know. I didn't think about it. I just did it. I didn't think about it. I literally was like, okay, give me the parameters. And once I had the parameters, whether I did it well, whether I did it right, none of those things mattered to me. Too many times we spend too much time majoring in the minors and minoring in the majors. I'm going to say that one more time. Too many times we spend way too much time, or too often we spend way too much time majoring in the minors and minoring in the majors. I didn't think about it. I just did it. And let me tell you something. When your intention is right, when you have the willingness to show up and simply do it again and again and again and again, that's that's what brings us to a place of mastery. I was afraid of getting restricted on social media because that's where I was making a lot of my connections and a lot of my contacts. Do you know that I did not get restricted until after I sent my 500th either message, comment, or connection? That is when I got restricted. And for whatever reason, I'm still restricted today, right? Where I can post, I just can't comment. And I cannot friend anyone that was not my friend before, or blah, 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 right? But isn't it amazing what you can accomplish when you set real intentions? So you really got to ask yourself, and then yourself got to say, are you really being honest with your intentions when you don't hit the mark? Or are you just saying it because it sounds good? You know, I did a coaching call today, and I promise I'm going to go forward, but I believe that this is going to help somebody. I did a coaching call today for a young lady and her brand new teammates. And on the call, I said, I'm going to ask you some questions. And in these series of questions, what I need you to do is be honest, not just with me, but be honest with yourself. I said, don't say what you want me to hear. Because when you say, oh, I'm going diamond, or I'm going this, or I'm going that, and I expect you to do it. See, because unlike myself, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm honest. So if you put it on paper or tell me in a text message or whatever the case may be, what your intentions are, then I expect that you're going to get it done no matter what, because you said that you would. So I had to share with these young ladies, don't say what you think I want to hear. I need to hear what your real true intentions are, because I can only help you manage your expectations when you're real with yourself and giving me what your real true intentions are. Everything else is just a lie. Because when I say I'm going to do, when I said on Saturday, because I only had until I went to bed. I didn't have no, oh, you can get it done in a week. No, that day. I said, you mean like today? She said, yes, today. My coach stretched me. She challenged me. No, it needed to be done that day because it broke something. What it broke in me was what it did, Paul, is even if it didn't turn over into one customer, into one business partner, into one sale, you know what it did? Do y'all want to know what it did? I'm going to wait to see if they want to know what it did. TikTok, do you want to know what it did? I can kind of see a little bit. I'm not that far this time. But if you want to know what it did, let me see your answers in the comments. Miss Carol J. Let me tell you what it did. Let me tell you what it did. I'm looking up to my left so I can see the screen. Miss Virginia said, Dr. Virginia said, yep. Sharon Durr, Sonia, Shannon, Robin Ball, right? No, it's cool. It's cool. Right? They're saying yes. That's perfect. They're saying yes. Errol, Deborah, let me tell you what it did, Bridget. It stretched my capacity. It stretched my capacity. Because here's the deal. Every day we send out, our number is 30. I never do 30. I always do about 50. But what happened when I did 500 is 30 seems like, what the heck? Who does 30? Because my capacity is greater. And you got to be stretched out of your normal capacity so that more can come out of you and more can receive. You can receive more as well. What happens when a woman is in labor? In order to be able to birth the baby, her cervix has to stretch to open wider to be able to pass through a greater depth. More capacity. So the goal was to finish it, not to be perfect with it, but to finish it, to see if I could be obedient, because obedience is better than sacrifice. And it stretched my capacity. So it was, and let me tell you what she said. Let me tell you what she said. And Paul, you were there when my coach said, don't worry about a sale. She said, don't worry about a sign up. That's not what this assignment is about. It's not about the sales. It's not about the sign up. As a matter of fact, it slowed down my sales and my signups. But what it did is, although it might have slowed down my sales and signups, it gave me a greater capacity. It stretched me to want more. So now 30 messages. What do I look like sending 30 messages out when I just sent 500? Do y'all get it? I just sent 500. What is 30? What is 30 to a giant now? Hello? I hope y'all you don't worry about doing it well. You just do it. Everybody type in the chat, just do it. Just do it. You trying to be perfect. You're trying to say the right thing. You're trying to make it sound eloquent. You're trying to look like a certain kind of way. Just do it. Don't worry about writing a bestseller. Just write. Don't worry about making a Grammy-winning hit. Just make music. Don't worry about failing. Just keep showing up and trying. And at first, all that matters is that you do what you really want to do. From there, you can learn from your mistakes and over time, get to the place where you really want to be. So what did I do on Saturday? In the midst of a very busy day that we were having anyway, I did it. I did it. I did it. And I stretched my capacity. The truth is that we actually do not accomplish great feats when we are anxious about whether or not what we do will indeed be something impressive, the world and world changing. We accomplish these sorts of things when we simply show up and allow ourselves to create something meaningful and important to us. Instead of perfection, focus on progress. I got to stop again. Last week I did a reel and it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. But on Instagram, my growth numbers had stunted. They just stopped. They were at 34,000.3 for months, for at least the last month and a half. Just stunted at 34,000.3. And a lot of people are like, well, I mean, gosh, Nina, that's 34,000. Shouldn't you be happy about that? Not when my account used to have 85,000 and it was stolen and I had to start all over again. So why am I stalled at 34.3? Well, last week I recorded a video that was a good video, but it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. And I even got a phone call from my son who watches my stuff like a hawk. And he was like, Mom, did you see your video? He's like, you're not even looking at the camera. You're looking like you're reading it something. And I was like, I know, but it's got good traction. I don't want to take it down. So I didn't take it down because it wasn't perfect. I want to say that again. I didn't take the video down. It wasn't perfect. And guess what, y'all? The video that wasn't perfect, the video that wasn't scripted, the video that wasn't, none of those things is viral and it has driven the followers up, right? Driven the views up, and it's viral. And do you know, not one person that I know did a remix with that viral video. I teach to remix a video when the numbers are shooting up. Not one person I know did a remix or a duet with the video. Ain't that something? Isn't that something? They would have gotten some traction on their page because my video was viral, and not one person. And I didn't say anything purposely because I wanted to see what people were going to do with all the stuff that I train on over and over and over again. Not one person took advantage of my very viral video. Everybody ought to say ouch. Not one person ought to act like they knew to do it because he should have done it way before now. The video has been viral for a week. Stretched capacity. So you learn from your mistakes. The truth is we actually do not accomplish great feats when we are anxious, right? We accomplish these sorts of things when we simply show up and allow ourselves to create something meaningful and important to us. Instead of perfection, focus on progress. Instead of having something done perfectly, focus on just getting it done. Write the list. Put the post up. Start the business. Make the phone calls. Right? From there, you can edit, build, grow, and develop to exactly what your vision is. But if you don't get started, you will never arrive. Y'all ought to put that one in the comments. If you don't get started, you will never arrive. If you don't get started, you will never arrive. So we got to have limited emotional process. We have limited emotional processing skills. In life, there are going to be people, situations, and circumstances that are upsetting, infuriating, saddening, and even enraging. There will likewise be people, situations, and circumstances that are inspiring, hopeful, helpful, and truly offer purpose and meaning in your life. When you are only able to process half of your emotions, you stunt yourself. You start going out of your way to avoid any possible situation that could bring up something frustrating or uncomfortable because you have no tools to be able to handle that feeling. This means that you start avoiding the very risks and actions that would ultimately change your life for the better. So everything that is designed to make us good, we run from it. Everything designed to make us better, We run from it. When you are only able to process half of your emotions, you stunt yourself. You start going out of your way to avoid any possible situation that could bring up something frustrating or uncomfortable because you have no tools to be able to handle that feeling. This means that you start avoiding the very risks and actions that would ultimately change your life for the better. In addition, an inability to process your emotions means you get stuck with them. Oh. So like when you mad, so you just stop speaking to people. What kind of, that doesn't fix it. So you stop speaking to people and you avoid them like the plague as if whatever, and they don't even know that you're mad. And they're going on with their lives like nothing is wrong. You're in a prison while you're sitting there mad at somebody. So you know what you do? This is what we do. Petty Betty. I'm going to delete them as a friend off Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to unfollow them as if, who cares? Because that person probably doesn't even know that you unfriended them until you're no longer mad and then you're trying to friend them back. And then they're like, oh. That you spend that much energy because you had no ability to process your emotions, so now you're stuck with them. You sit and you dwell on your anger and your sadness because you don't know how to make them go away. We can only process half of our emotions. We ultimately only live half of the life we really want to. But how do we resolve this? Healthy emotional processing looks different for everyone, but generally involves these steps. Here you go. Here are the steps. Somebody ought to type these in. Here are the steps to resolve this. Number one, get clear on what actually happened. That's so major right there. Because some of y'all mad at other people and you ain't even had nothing to do with it. You just mad because somebody else was mad. So get clear on what happened. Get clear. Number one. Number two, validate your feelings. Yup, this is how I feel. May not be right, but this is how I feel. So number two is validate your feelings. But number three, and the most important part of this all to resolve this is determine a course correction quickly. Because the longer that you stay in that place, you must determine a course correction. Okay, you mad, you sad, you didn't like it, you was mad because somebody else is mad, and now you look crazy because I was mad and you wasn't speak. Okay, validate your feelings. Okay, but now you got to determine a course of correction, and you need to do it quickly. Because the longer that you wait to determine your course correction, the harder it is to correct that thing that took you off course. So first you need to understand why you're upset or the reason why something is bothering you so much. Without clarity on this, you'll continue to waste your time mulling over the details without really understanding what's hurting you so much. Let me tell y'all something. Sometimes when I'm talking to my coach and I'm not mad or angry or anything like that. I'm just kind of telling her what's going on. Do you know, and Paul will validate this for me, she oftentimes just stops me in my tracks. And she'll say, don't even talk about that. Don't even give that any energy. Don't even mention their name. They're a distraction. It's a distraction. She doesn't even let me bring it out of my mouth. If it's not something that is going to help me grow as an individual, grow my money, grow my business, help grow my business partners, she's like, don't even talk about it. Don't give that any energy. Don't put it in the atmosphere. I'm going to just, Because without clarity on this, you'll continue wasting your time, waste your time mulling over the details without really understanding what's even bothering you so much, what's hurting you so much. Next, you have to validate how you feel. Recognize that you are not alone. Anyone in your situation would probably feel similar and does, and that what you feel is absolutely okay. In doing this, you can allow yourself a physical release, such as crying, shaking, journaling about what you feel, or talking to a trusted friend. Once you are clear on what's wrong and have allowed yourself to fully express the extent of your emotions, you can determine how you would change your behavior or thought process so that you get an outcome that you really want in the future. Because the way you handled it that time, that might be okay, it's too late. Oh well, you can't course correct something you've already done. But your course correct is for the future. Next time when I'm upset, I'm going to validate my feelings first. I'm going to take a moment, process why I'm even upset. Because you know what? When I process oftentimes why I'm even upset about something, most times I realize it wasn't the other person, it was me. Oh, but that would probably be too much like having to take accountability for your actions, right? So most times, if you sit and you process it, after validating your feelings or whatever it is, you really sit back, and if you're honest with yourself, you can honestly say most times that it was not just the other person, because you can't have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people all saying the same thing, and you're the only one saying something different. Something's a little off here in this situation, right? So most times when you sit and you get quiet and you get clear and you validate what you're feeling, no matter how petty it might be, you'll actually realize in this course correction that it really was you. See, I don't know. When I was growing up, my parents used to always ask me, well, Nina, what part of it did you play? What part did you play in it? I wish, and I ask our daughter that too. I always say, Paige, what part did you play in it? Because I'm never, ever going to just jump on my kid's side because they're my kid. But what part did you play in this? Because that's the way that I was raised. More parents ought to raise their kids that way these days. Justification. Your life is ultimately measured by your outcomes, not your intentions. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I need y'all to hear that one again. Your life is ultimately measured by your outcomes, not your intentions. Doesn't matter what you intended. What did you do? Yikes. It's not about what you wanted to do or would have done, but didn't have the time. It's not about why you thought you couldn't. It's just whether or not you eventually did it. When you're in a pattern of self-sabotaging behavior, you're often treating those excuses the same way you would treat measurable outcomes. You're using them to make yourself feel momentarily satisfied, using them as a replacement for the accomplishment itself. Paige was playing soccer and she was not very good. She was a great cheer support to her team. But I didn't lie to her and tell her she was great. Because you know what? Parents, we enable these kids, feeding their ego with you're great, you're great, you're great, you're great, you're great, you're great, you're great. Oh, look at my little Johnny. No, Paige wasn't great at soccer, but we gave her an A for effort, not the actual game, because she was terrible. And I'm not going to lie to myself, and I'm not going to lie to my kid. Now, I didn't tell her she was terrible. I gave her an A for effort, but I certainly identified that soccer was not her thing. Okay? Because I was not going to help give her a momentary satisfaction for something that was not true. Because I was setting herself up to fail. I would be setting herself up to fail in other areas later in life if I just keep giving her kudos for something that she didn't earn. No, you didn't earn that. You weren't that, but you earned the award for being the most supportive to your entire team. Now that you did. You showed up. You came to practice. You were here in uniform, on time. So there were great things that, and we made her finish, even though she didn't want to continue. We made her finish because we're teaching her that you got to finish what you start. But we didn't give her accolades for something that she didn't do. Does this make sense? You're using them to make yourself feel momentarily satisfied, using them as a replacement for the accomplishment itself. When we have a goal or a dream or a plan, there is no measure of intent. It is only whether you did it or did you not. Did you do it or did you not? See, there ain't no, well, maybe I might have did it, but see, my dog ate my homework and my, well, see, I stubbed my toe. Well, I had a headache. Well, my grandkid, well, my this, well, my that. No. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Self-sabotager? Because the only measure is either you did it or you didn't. Any other reason that you offer for not showing up and doing the work is simply you stating that you prioritize that reason over the ultimate ambition, which means that it will always take precedence in your life. My gosh. You may also be using excuses to help navigate away from uncomfortable feelings that are ultimately necessary for your growth. Let me give you guys, before I read how to resolve this, let me give you guys, let me know TikTok, YouTube, can I give you full transparency? Let me know Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, if I can give you full transparency. I need to know if I can be fully transparent. I need to know because I like to tell the truth. I like to give y'all the good goods, like how I'm really feeling and what I really did. And can I give y'all my good goods? Please? Yes, boss. Yes. I got one yes on YouTube. Absolutely. TikTok, you said yes, I can. All right. While I was doing the 500 contacts and connections, on the 195 mark, I'm in a text thread with my coach and one other person. And in the text thread, I said, we all agreed, this is hard. This is not easy. All of us agreed, Paul. Remember, I was like, this is not easy. At that point, I was at only 195. Okay? I still had how many to do? How many, y'all? I still had 305 to do. I was at 195. And I said, we all are messaging like, this is not easy. She said, yes, this is not easy. Trying not to get restricted on Facebook, trying not to get shut down. This is not easy. I said, you probably should have given us 2 days to do the 500. Because I wanted it to be easier. Somebody gonna miss that. See, because I'm just thinking about the fact that I had been out almost all day. I didn't find out until after 12 o'clock. And I'm like, how can we make this easier? And I was hoping that my coach was going to say, you right. I probably should have given us 2 days, huh? She was like, you're right. This is hard. She said it was hard first. You're right. This is hard. We probably could have done it in 2 days, but we're not. We're going to finish it today. Because she was doing it with us, documenting it as well, because the law of documentation is in play right now. So you cannot give yourself a pass because it feels hard. Maybe that blessed somebody. I don't know. I'm just trying to be transparent. I'm just easy. But life is not easy, and earning millions of dollars is not easy either. And what my coach is doing is he's stretching my capacity. So how do we resolve this? We start measuring your outcomes and focusing on at least doing one productive thing each day. What can you do productive each and every day? It's no longer about how many days you really wanted to go to the gym. It's about how many days you actually did. You know how I got through it, Paul? I stopped looking at the 305 that I still had to do, and I thought about the 195 that I had already done. So instead of looking at how far I had to go, I looked at how far I came. And that's what got me through it. I kept saying, whoo, I did 200. Whoo, I did 215. Whoo, I did 225. And then literally, we started counting it down. And even Paige was like, Mom, you got this. You got this, Mom. Mom. Come back a few minutes later and be like, what's the number, Mom? What's the number, Mom? What's the number, Mom? And they stayed awake with me while I did it. And Paul normally goes to bed. But he figured if my wife got this challenge, I'm going to at least stay up with her as moral support. And as soon as I was done, we were all done. We were like, all right, bedtime. But I was like, whoo, I did 195. Whoa, I did 215. Whoa. And I started looking at what I had already accomplished, not how much farther I had to go. Because I was limiting myself at the capacity of 50. So after 50, I sat there with the book and I just sat it on my lap. And I sat back in a chair and I looked up and I was like, I'm at 50. I have 450 to go. So no, I had to change the way that I looked at it because I never would have finished because I'm used to 50, 30 to 50. That's my sweet spot. So most people only do what's convenient for them because you think that's all you can do. You sabotage yourself. Because anything past what you're normally doing doesn't feel good. It's no longer about wanting to show up for your friends. It's whether you did or not. It's no longer about the great ideas you had about how to change your business. It's about whether you did it or not. Stop accepting your own excuses. It's what the book says. I didn't say that. It's what the book says. I need you to write that in the chat, but write it personal. Stop accepting my own excuses. Stop being complacent with your own justifications. Stop quantifying your days by how many healthy, positive things you accomplished, and you see how quickly you begin to stop being complacent and with your own justifications, but start quantifying your days by how many healthy, positive things you've accomplished, and you will see how quickly you begin to make progress. Woo! That little piece of a chapter, part of the sub chapter in the chapter 2, that was heavy. That was heavy. Everybody take a deep breath right now. Seriously, this is not easy to digest. It's not easy to digest. This is not easy to digest, but it's necessary. Disorganization. By leaving our lives in spaces in disarray, we are not just mindlessly forgetting to take care of our surroundings. We are often actually creating distractions and chaos that serve an unconscious purpose. A clean, organized space, both for work and for living, is essential to thriving. This means a tidy home, clothes that are easy to reach and put together each morning, a clean kitchen and an organized desk. Paperwork should be filed in one space. Your bedroom should be calming, and everything should have a home that it can return to at the end of the day. Without cleanliness, we create fewer opportunities for ourselves. Nothing positive nor beautiful flows from chaos. Nothing positive or beautiful flows from chaos. Deep down, we know this. Often, when we are self-sabotaging through disorganization, it is because when we are very cleaned or organized, we can get an uneasy feeling. That uneasy feeling is what we are trying to avoid, because it is the recognition that now that everything is in order, we must get to work on doing what we need to do or what we want to become. When we leave our spaces messy, we are always a few tasks or priorities away from stepping out and showing up. But how do we resolve this? Like anything, you need to start slow and adjust yourself over time. To declutter and reorganize, start with one room. And if that is too much, try one corner or one drawer or one closet and work on that and only that. And then implement a routine that maintains the organization. From there, start arranging your space so that it works for you, not against you. Put something soothing on your bedside table like a diffuser, or create an organized family calendar in the kitchen so that appointments and schedules are visible to others. If you have trouble with the mail being disorganized, create a spot for it to go when it comes in each day. And if you have trouble with laundry being disorganized, create a system for it to decide decide on a day or two that you do the wash and do it in bulk. You must slowly let yourself get used to working at a clean desk, and eventually it will become second nature. You'll begin to realize that you also feel so much less stressed and much more in control of your life. It is very hard to show up as the person that you want to be when you are surrounded by an environment that makes you feel like a person that you're not. That one wasn't as heavy as the last one. All right. Attachment to what you don't really want. Attachment to what you don't really want. Sometimes your dreams for your life are adopted from other people's preferences. In other cases, you determine what you want and then you outgrow your old ambitions. Sometimes we fight endlessly to try to force ourselves to want something that we do not really want. And it always leaves us empty because it isn't a genuine desire. This is different than lacking motivation or experiencing resistance, or our inability to perform is not based in fear or lack of skill. Our inability to perform is not based in fear or lack of skill. It is based in an inherent knowing that this is not what we want for our lives. And perhaps we're feeling lost or unable to change our path. When you find yourself struggling with something that you have to ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? Do you want the job? Or do you just like how the title sounds? Are you in love with the person, or do you like the idea of a relationship? Are you still holding an outdated idea of what your greatest success will be? And if so, what would it be like to let it go? At the end of the day, self-sabotage sometimes functions to show us that we aren't quite on the right path yet, and that we need to reevaluate to determine what would feel best for our lives, even if that means we disappoint some people or even our younger selves. We do not have to live the rest of our lives trying to achieve some measure of success we thought was ideal when we were too young to understand who we even were, or our responsibility to make decisions for the person that we have become. So how do we resolve this? Be willing to accept that maybe your success story doesn't look the way that you once thought it might. Maybe the kind of success that you're really hungry for is to feel at peace each day or making your life about travel instead of work. Maybe it's about having thriving friendships or a happy relationship. Maybe the business you got into 10 years ago isn't the business you want to be in forever. Maybe the work you thought you loved isn't coming as naturally to you as you'd hope. When you let go of what isn't right for us, we create space to discover what is. However, doing so requires the tremendous courage to put our pride aside and see things for what they really are. Judging others. We all know that gossiping or judging other people's lives and choices is not a healthy or a positive way to connect with other people. However, it does far more damage than we realize, as it sets up barriers to our own success. If we feel bad about not being as successful as another person, we might try to find something negative about them to make ourselves feel better. If we do that every time we come across a person who is more successful than we are, we begin to associate that level of success with being disliked. When it comes time for us to take action to move our lives forward, we're going to resist doing it because becoming more successful will create a breach in our self-concept. In other cases, you might have heard people you grew up around villainizing others who had money. They might have said things like, rich people are the worst. Maybe they chalked all wealthy people up to being morally corrupt. This sweeping characterization sealed itself in your subconscious. And now you find yourself sabotaging your own attempts to becoming financially healthy because you associate it with guilt and being disliked. When we set up judgments for others, they become rules that we have to play by too. Wait a minute. Let me say that again. When we set up judgments for others, they become rules that we have to play by also. By judging others for what we don't have or because we envy them, we sabotage our own lives far more than we really ever hurt anybody else. How do we resolve this? Many people say that you have to love yourself first before you can love others. But really, if you learn to love others, you will learn to love yourselves. Practice non-judgment through non-assumption. Instead of reaching a conclusion about a person based on limited information that you have about them, consider that you're not seeing the whole picture and you don't know the whole story. When you are more compassionate about other people's lives, you become more compassionate about your own. When you see someone who has something that you want, congratulate them. Even if it feels hard at first, it will extend back and open you up to receiving it as well. 50, we can go through this one. This next one is pride, and then we'll stop at the guilt of succeeding because we still have quite a ways before we finish chapter 2. Let me see. Yes, we have quite a ways before we finish chapter 2. Yeah, we do. So I'm going to read pride, and then next week we'll actually finish the rest of chapter 2. Pride is often involved in many of the worst decisions. Pride is so funny. Didn't we talk about this last week? Pride goes before a fall. Pride is often involved in many of our worst decisions. Sometimes we know a relationship is wrong, but the shame of leaving seems worse than staying. Sometimes we start a business and realize we don't really like it very much or refuse to accept that we need to change or ask for help. In these cases, our pride is getting in the way. We are making decisions based on how we imagine people view our lives, not how they actually are. This is not only inaccurate, but it is also very unhealthy. So how do we resolve this? To overcome our attachment to pride, we have to start to see ourselves more wholly and honestly. Instead of thinking that we need to prove to everyone around us how perfect and flawless we are, we can imagine ourselves more realistically as people who, despite our weaknesses, are trying our best. In the end, it looks far worse to hold on to what's wrong because you care about what others think than it is to let go because that's what's right for you. People will respect you far more if you can acknowledge that you are an imperfect person, like everyone else, learning, adapting, and trying your best. In reaching this mindset, you also open yourself up to learning. By not assuming you know everything or that you need to seem perfect, you can admit when you're wrong, ask for assistance, and lean on others sometimes. Basically, you open yourself back up to growth, and your life is better, for it is over the long term. Boom, 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 boom. We drop the mic. We will pick back up on page 47 with the guilt of succeeding, because there are some people who don't want to succeed because they actually feel guilty about it. So I don't know about you all, but drop drop your greatest takeaway from today, and or something that might have been a real jab uppercut for you. There were so many for me, but I believe for me, as I'm reading now, I see that this book was very timely for a lot of where a lot of us are. And I believe that we are going to find the power as we continue to have the courage, be brave enough to face our true north, and we take our power back. We're going to find the courage to continue on this journey as we finish this book, which is loaded, right, Tedra? Loaded. She said, let me get my Band-Aids for next week. Yes. The guilt of succeeding, because so often we don't want to leave other people behind, especially those that have been loyal. But you cannot allow yourself to drag dead weight. And I learned a long time ago that you cannot want it more for other people more than they want it for themselves. So again, hit a 1 in the comments if you are live. Hit a 2 if you are actually watching this replay. And I hope that you made it thus far, right? This book just keeps getting gooder and gooder and gooder and gooder, as my great friend James Dentley, Sir James Dentley, used to so eloquently say. Sir James Dentley, right? I think he was knighted, right? Or something like that. So he's Sir James Dentley. He was an absolutely amazing mentor, or is an amazing mentor and friend of ours. And so listen, I want to make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. All right. Because you don't ever want to miss when a live is going off. So if you make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, right? The Nina R. Moore channel, the Wellness Queen, to make sure that you never, ever miss anything. Now, here's the deal. This book is tough, okay? But guess what? It's the only way that we're going to grow. And this book makes me feel like I did when I was going through those 500 contacts and connects on Saturday, that if we just continue to push through, we're going to be better on the other side of this. And so I hope that there was something that you heard today that's going to make you want to come back, and not come back alone, but make sure you have your notebook and your pen, and make sure you bring a friend or 2 or 3 or 4, right? Maybe someone that maybe not really want to join you in business yet or anything like that, but they may want to come to book club. Invite them, because this is a free, safe space for people to be able to learn and grow as we all learn and grow together. And I want you to always remember to be kind to one another, do a good deed, pay it forward, be nice, pay it forward, be nice. You never know, just a simple, mere paying for somebody's coffee that might be in line, right? Pay for the toll for someone in back of you. Make sure that you're using those hashtags, Book Talk, Goodreads, and BookTube. Book Talk, Goodreads, and Book Two, make sure you're using those hashtags because we want to make sure that this is flying in the algorithm here on TikTok and on YouTube. And last but not least, I told you to stay with me because I had a gift for you, right? So I want you all to go and subscribe to my website. We're actually making a few changes right now. So I've been a little bit quiet because we're moving into another platform. It'll be the same website. So we might have a few days of interruption, but we want to make sure that you go to ninamorer.com. All right. And you're going to see that right there, and go register, subscribe to ninamorer.com, right? Morer, don't forget the R. And what I want you to do is subscribe. Once you subscribe, you should receive an email. And in that email, I've got a free gift for you. So we have a journal in that free email that you can print out, put it in a binder, and keep it to keep track of your growth, your wellness growth, your mindset growth, right? Keep track of your goals and your growth. And I want to challenge you today. Make a decision and stick to it. Be honest with yourself and stick to it. Repent for all of the times that you said you was going to do something and you didn't. Repent, because the reality of it is, but you got to understand this. Stop making excuses for yourself because you keep going back to what's comfortable. You have to push yourself, right, to the next level. And you got to understand that we've got some very major things that are taking place here in Atlanta in the rest of the month of April, in the month of May, and in the month of June. So stay connected to me through my website and just know that God loves you. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Much love from your wellness queen. See you next Monday.